Good morning, friends. I hope you are well and had a great weekend. Happy Mother's Day to all of your mothers and grandmothers and aunts and so forth. Today we're going to look at geodes. Now, geodes are really cool rocks. Here's one that I have. They look kind of ordinary on the outside, but when you break them open, they have these amazing crystals on the inside. My dad is a really good geode finder, and when I was a kid, he would come home with geodes from his hunting trips and fishing trips and so forth, and he would have found them just by chance. Anyway, I thought they were kind of a cool way for us to experiment with some really simple materials. So you need some water-soluble markers, some salt, a paintbrush or a cotton swab, a glass of water, maybe a paper towel, and some heavier paper and a waterproof marker. So the first thing you want to figure out is a color family. Now, a color family is a group of colors that share a primary color in common. So you can see all of these colors share the color blue. All of these colors, let me find my yellow here. All of these colors share the color yellow in common. So you want to choose a family of colors that has a primary color in common. An example of what you probably would not want to do would be to take like a green, an orange, and a violet. So this is going to get you into trouble. Not trouble, but it won't create kind of a bright, vibrant geode that you might want. It'll just maybe create a brown geode for you, which isn't a bad thing. You can try it. Go for it. But I want you to try to create a geode, at least one, that shows your knowledge of a color family. All right. So the first thing I did here is I started by creating kind of an egg or oblong shape with my Sharpie marker. All right, that's the outside of my geode. Then I started by just making lines, concentric circles going around and following the outside of my geode. All right, I don't want to color the whole thing in because I'm also going to try to create some value, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. So notice how these lines are not touching. I'm giving everyone a little bit of space, kind of like socially distancing my lines. And I'm just going to keep going and going and going in a circle until I have it pretty much almost filled in. And I'm going to repeat some colors. And I'll do one more. And then every once in a while, I like to come back in with my Sharpie marker and just find one area where I might put a nice dark line to help things stand out a little bit. So now I'm going to take my brush or my cotton swab, and I am going to start to add the color. I don't want my brush dripping wet, but I want it fairly wet. And what you're going to see is this area is going to stay dark because that's where most of my color is, and this area is going to start to turn light. That's where I don't have any color and where I can put more water. So what will happen is I can kind of control this with my brush, making light areas and dark areas. I want to wash my brush in between my circles, like that. Give a little wash here. I can leave some light areas, and that's what I'm talking about value. When you create a dark area and light area, that's called value. That's the lightness and darkness of a color. So I'm going to keep going and keep painting with And now I like to add a really dark center. So I'm going to mix colors here. And that's the cool thing about these markers, is that you can mix colors and you can get a really, really nice effect. So this would be the time that I would add salt. And you can see I did that here on this one, and you can kind of start to see what's happening with the salt. It draws in all the moisture, and it kind of pushes the pigment away, and it makes kind of cool crystal marks. So I could put salt on here. I'm not going to do that because I just want to leave it like this, and I want to show you a different technique. So I can come back in with my markers, and even though this is just a little bit wet, I can make areas darker if I wanted to help create more of an idea of value. And just kind of experiment with that. Maybe add a little more here. All right, and just kind of keep going. Now, another cool effect might be if you use crayons and markers. As you know, crayons will also create another kind of effect, another kind of resist. So that could be an interesting effect as well. When you're all finished with your geodes, I want you to think of a clever way to finish the background. I started to draw circles and lines and wavy lines to kind of fill up my background. You could just do a wash of color if you want to, but you could cut them out and put them on another piece of paper. There's all different ways you can finish this, but I definitely don't want to just leave my background white. Anyway, I hope you have fun with this project. There's so many things you can experiment with between the salt and the markers and the crayons and the water. I hope you have fun and you make millions of geodes. Have a great day, and I'll see you on Wednesday.